Madam Deputy Chair. I do want to, of course, contribute to this extremely important bill, another bedrock Labor reform, once again brought to this House by our Minister for Industrial Relations, Sophie Cotsis. I want to especially recognise the presence of Unions New South Wales, of course, Secretary Mark Morey, Todd Pinkerton, there's several officials up there as well, Natasha Flores, I see, Cherie Hayward. I do want to especially mention a friend of mine and someone who did their apprenticeship with me at Sydney County Council back in, I think we started in 1982, David White. 1882, was it? Thanks, mate. And that has some relevance because David is up here representing the Injured Workers Network, and David's son was 24 years old when he died of electrocution on a roof. And had these laws been in at that time, perhaps David wouldn't have lost his son. And he's been instrumental in representing that Injured Workers Network and bringing the importance of this bill to the House. And I do also want to, Madam Deputy President, relay something that I had told this House before in previous debates about a personal story of mine as well, which, by the grace of God, I'm still here. It was in as a third-year apprentice, I think I was, at Sydney County Council at the time, and Dave will understand the circumstances. It was about this time of year. I would have been all of 17 or 18 years old. We were sent out to a pole transformer to do what they call full load readings, which is when you climb up the pole transformer and try and measure the current going through the overhead wires coming out of the transformer. Fortunately, because it was so cold that day out at Kurnell, I was wearing several layers of clothes. In those days, we would have, had it been summertime, we would have been wearing shorts, short-sleeve shirts. As a young teenager, probably sweating profusely. And I proceeded to get up there and I couldn't reach out to the furthest phase on the distributor. And I had pants, boots, socks, singlet, shirt, jumper. And I said to the fellow who was down on the ground at the time, "What do you want me to do? I can't reach out." He said, "I'll just jump up on top of the pole transformer. This is a live in-service 11,000 volt to 415 volt transformer." So I proceeded to do that, sat on top of the earth transformer and felt tingling down my back because the 11,000 volt wires, which looked like they were insulated because they had black plastic over them, but they weren't, and I assumed they were. Felt all this tingling in my back, got down, and I said to Billy at the bottom of the pole transformer, who had been seconded from another area which wasn't familiar with working on the high voltage network. They were installing meters, so they weren't used to working on the high voltage network, but they were qualified electricians. I said, "Bill, are those 11,000 volt mains insulated?" Because I had tingling down my back, and he said, "Oh, I don't know." When I went back to the depot and proceeded to tell the foreman, the blood drained from his face. And he said to me, "You idiot, you're lucky to be here. That's exposed 11,000 volts. And I say again, had it not been for the cold weather and the several layers of clothing, I would guarantee you I would not be here today." And under the laws which the Minister is introducing into the House today and will hopefully shortly get passed, had I died that day, my parents would not have been able to prosecute the then Sydney County Council for gross negligence because there were no laws to do it. Under these laws, you will be able to bring a case for a situation like that and the situation that Dave's son found himself in and is no longer with us as a result. You will be able to prosecute an officer of a company for being grossly negligent in dereliction of duty, in not protecting a worker, in not taking adequate steps. And in my particular case, the adequate step would have been, I'm not going to send this young kid out with someone who doesn't understand the high voltage network and is not capable of carrying out safe work practices. So they are very, very, very important laws. And of course, The emblematic case, if you like, that's brought so much centre of gravity and attention to this is the case of young Christopher Casanidi, who passed away several years ago, and whose parents, Patricia and Rob Casanidi, have been relentless in being the face of the campaign to bring these laws in. The idea that you can go to work and someone can be negligent in their duty and not taking the adequate care, whether it be the erection of scaffolding, whether it be sending someone out who's qualified to supervise an apprentice, or whether it be someone who sends someone out to work on a roof and doesn't take adequate processes and procedures in insulating the overhead mains, or whether it be not training workers properly, should not be allowed, and you should go to jail if, as a result of that negligence, you kill someone at work, and that's exactly what these laws do. Extremely, extremely important laws. I do want to place on the record the seminal work of our former colleague Adam Searle, who introduced a very similar bill into this House back in 2021. It actually passed this House and was mothballed in the lower house. And again, without wanting to sound too opportunistic in terms of the politics of this, I don't think it's appropriate for us to get too political, but once again, the union movement and injured workers advocating that transmission mechanism straight through to the party of Labor in government to change laws for the benefit of working people. I want to once again acknowledge the work of the Minister Sophie Kotsis in bringing this very, very important bill to the House. It's tragic that we've had to lose so many lives to get to this point, but I'm very, very proud to be part of a government who's going to institute a law that's hopefully going to prevent that happening in the future. I commend the bill to the House.
Thank you. The Honourable